You're tired of working day in and day out, trying to find new boomer customers, chasing leads, doing whatever work comes your way, and never getting to earn what you're worth. You do it because you love the work and you're passionate about serving the boomers. We get it. What you need is more of the right boomer customers for your business and more income for you and your family so you can grow your company and help more people in your community. Well, you're in the right place because this is Booming Your Bottom Line.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of Booming Your Bottom Line. Today is a very special episode of the BYBL podcast. This episode marks 1 year since Aaron and I started this journey to helping small business owners who serve the boomers. Aaron, can you believe that it is episode 52, that we've done a full year podcast? That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and humbling for sure. I can't believe you guys put up with all of us, Mark and I, for this long. It's quite a gift, being able to do this and do it for you guys. That's why we're here to serve. And, the best part of this whole thing has always been, always will be, you guys, our listeners. So thank you so much for standing up with us and believing in what we're doing and believing in what you're doing, being people that care in your community, and for helping the older consumers that you do across the nation and across the world. So we're all in it to help folks live better lives, and you guys are our heroes. So we appreciate your support, sharing these podcasts, and the feedback you've given us this year as we've ramped up to give you everything you've asked for.
Absolutely true, Aaron. I couldn't have said it better. Thanks again, everyone. Okay, so today on Owner's Chat, we are joined by Jeff DeVol, owner of DeVol Design.Build.Remodel in Loveland, Ohio. Jeff started his current company in 2000, and before that, he managed the remodeling division for a prominent local builder. As a certified aging in place specialist, he's focused on making a house a home for life. DeVol provides quality remodeling, renovation, and restoration services. Now, Jeff's company does general kitchen, bath, and whole house remodels, but his passion is helping people with different abilities, as well as older customers stay in their homes safely. Jeff, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. It's great to talk to you again, and thanks for taking the time with us today. So what we've always done with Owner's Chat and what we want to help you do today is just let our listeners know about your story. Tell the story of your business. We want you to share some insights and background so all small business owners that listen to us across the U.S. that are serving boomers can be inspired, learn from you and us as we chat here today, and be encouraged in their pursuit of that small business dream that we're all undertaking to help boomers and their families in the year ahead. So, Jeff, if you don't mind, I'm going to just dive right in with my first question.
Sounds good.
All right. So let's just start at the 50,000 foot level and, tell us what's your main service or products and, describe a little bit about your small business.
So as you said, we started in 2000, and we started out doing additions and kitchens and bathrooms and basements, all the general contracting things that you do. And we started specializing in aging in place back about 2008, and that's about half of our business right now. And hoping to grow that into more of our business, but right now it's about half and half, probably. General kitchens, baths, whole house additions type of work.
Very good, thank you. So where did all this come from? How did you get started doing this?
So when we started the company, we started out, scratching and clawing, and we were bidding architect plans. And anybody that knows that's done that, that's a slippery slope, because that's generally a low bid type take, and that's how you get started, right? Mm-hmm. So we were doing, large additions in a very wealthy part of town, and not making a whole lot of money on these projects, and really not feeling good about what we were doing. It was just like, we're just fixing up everybody's houses so it was nicer than their neighbor's house. And about 2008, I was attending the remodeling shows at that time, and they kept talking about this aging in place thing. I was like, what is this aging in place? And I really wasn't understanding what it was all about. And then we decided we wanted to get out of bidding architects' plans, and it's like, what could be a niche market we could get into? And about that time, my father-in-law, who was starting to get up in years, was starting to have issues living in his home. And it all just kind of came together at the same time, and the eureka moment of, hey, we can help people, we can make money, and grow a business based on that.
Right on. Perfect. And yeah, God, please, run away from architects as fast as you can, right? Oh, I knew it wasn't going to take long for that one to come out. Funny though, you kind of came about this the same way that I did, and at about the same time. Same thing during the recession, and watching my grandmother and all those things, and then learning what the cost of nursing homes and stuff were. I thought the same thing. I thought, well, I don't want to compete with those 5 architects on the island outside of Seattle that are in all the right political places for the last 25 years. What can I do that ties a passion and my expertise together? Because I'm not going to get the $3 million waterfront home, and I might not like the client anyway. So very similar emotional thought process. So good for you. That's awesome. So Jeff, in that niche then, I'm sure maybe in 2008 you were the first, but my guess is you're seeing some other people, pursuing this. So what's your unique sales position? How are you different? How do you add value in a way that other folks aren't catching?
Well, when we started, of course, that was in the heart of the recession. And people we here locally did start jumping on the bandwagon as a way to try to get business. And we saw that they did not know what they were doing. We had to come back and fix some things where people thought they knew what they were doing. And it was very disappointing. They weren't trained properly, and it actually made it more hazardous than it would have been if they just did nothing at all. So a lot of those guys realized how hard this was, and they got out of it. So there's not a whole lot of people in this area that are now doing it. In our business, our unique selling proposition is we tell people the process is as important as the final product. We take huge amounts of time covering floors and putting up desk protection, and we clean up every day, and we talk to people about when we're coming, and we communicate. And we just, we are very sensitive that this is their home, and making sure it's locked up at the end of the day and cleaned up, and that they feel comfortable and do everything we can to lower the stress during the process. Very hands-on.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because repeatedly over the years, and not just in my own personal experience with, people who come into your home to do things, but getting feedback from consumers, you run into it so much that remodelers in particular, they aren't as sensitive. By and large, they're not taking that stand. Well, this is your home, and we're going to show you that we're being careful with it. We're going to show you that we're sensitive to the dust and to the noise and to the what the project, how it's going to interrupt your life, and the commitments to the time. Being able to do what you say when you say you're going to do it, and managing those expectations through communication with your customers. It just doesn't happen that much. So I got to give you some kudos for that, because that's a really big deal. And I can tell you from talking to hundreds of consumers over the years, that is a sticking point with them, and something that they really dislike about working with people in the building industry.
Oh, absolutely. I've gotten projects because I returned phone calls.
Wow.
I've been told I got a project because I returned their phone call.
And there is a lesson for everybody that's listening right now that's in remodeling. Okay, mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's good for you. That's really good stuff. So let's talk a little bit. Let's switch directions a little, and let's talk about how you are reaching and connecting with these older consumers. How are you doing that?
Well, right now, it is word of mouth. We are not doing a whole lot other than some local advertising. We have a small community here just north of Cincinnati, so we just do some local. We don't do a whole lot of print advertising. That doesn't seem to work real well. Networking groups, and just doing a really good job and asking for referrals from past clients.
So, since you said that, before we move on to the next question, when you say asking for referrals, are you asking every time?
Probably could do better at that, but not every time. No.
And I only ask because that's something that we talk to people about, and if you can ask for referrals every time you do a job, a lot of times people are going to say no, or they're going to hem all around. But if you don't ask, you're never going to get them. And it's funny you brought that up, because a lot of the remodelers I've talked with, they just never, they flat out never do it. They just assume that if somebody likes the work, they're going to tell somebody, and it doesn't always work like that. You kind of gotta press that envelope a little bit so you can get those. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that.
The one thing that we are good at is if we have a client that is doing just a standard bathroom or kitchen that's not an aging in place, I will talk to them about aging in place. And a lot of times that leads into, we've done a master bath for a woman, and we ended up doing 2 projects for her mom at another home, because we educated them about what's happening.
Very good.
True. Yeah, very true. When I meet with clients also, I just ask, hey, what are the chances this is your last home? Because my conversation with you, just like it'd be different, I ask what their budget is. And some people don't like to talk about money either, but there are some hard questions that you need to ask, right? And I just say to them, look, and I don't pick real numbers. I go, look, my advice to you is different if you have $5 versus $5 million. So we have to know what you're shooting for. Mm-hmm. But then the same thing about, the longevity of the house and what that life cycle for them looks like. A lot of clients that didn't come to me for aging in place, that ends up being a part of the design solution. So good for you. Very smart and great ideas. And thanks for mentioning it. We say it all the time. Print ad kind of isn't the thing anymore. And you can't track it, which is another frustration from an ROI perspective as an owner. So good decisions, absolutely. Doing good work, asking for referrals, and doing the networking. So smart. Jeff, can you give us a success story, around this, the older consumer, or maybe that example where you started with the daughter and then you end up working for the mom? Give us an example without client names of how you.
Probably a great one to talk about is it was a retired teacher, and we did her master bath in her condo. And up front, I explained to her that we did the aging in place, and she said, my mom's 85 and legally blind. She lives by herself, and she carries her laundry up and down the basement steps. And and it's an unfinished basement, open riser. And I was like, well, that's just a matter of time before that fall happens. And I educated her that if her mom falls, there's a chance, very good chance, she's not going to come home, because she's going to end up in a nursing home or she's going to pass away. We've seen it happen multiple times. And, you try not to scare them, but you almost have to say, look, you need to stop this from happening. You need to educate your mom. And so she started talking to her mom. Of course, as you guys know, people that age I've been living in this house for 40 years. I'm fine. Well, you weren't legally blind and you weren't 85 40 years ago. So luckily, I guess, one of her mom's friends fell and broke her hip. And mom got on board. And we ended up doing 2 projects for mom. We took out the bathtub, put in a shower, and we moved the laundry room upstairs. So that is probably one of my success stories, where we were able to educate the daughter and got her to make and push her mother to do what she needed to do. Once mom felt safe, she immediately was on board, like, wow, this is good. I like this, and she wanted to do more.
Yeah,
excellent.
That is good. Mark, let me say one more thing. It's funny how life experiences correlate, right? I'm actually taking a positive parenting class. I've got an 8 and an 11-year-old coming up on 11. There was a great example. It just resonated with me right now, that if you're empowering your kids or your mom, right, anybody who would maybe rather not listen, just saying, before they do something, stupid like teenagers, okay, what's the worst possible outcome of that decision? Just for the sake of discussion. And then can you live with that risk?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Good way to phrase it.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very good. That's a great story, Jeff. And I'm really, really glad that you shared it and that we brought you on the show today. Now, I actually have some insight, and I know Aaron does too, into you and your work because we've talked before. And I want to highlight one thing before we move on and have you talk about it just for a second. Now, you also do work for people with different abilities, right?
Correct.
And I would like for you just for a second to talk about a little bit about that work and maybe how that work aligns with some of the aging in place stuff that you do.
So actually, the majority of the accessibility projects we're doing are for disabled people. We are certified to do adaptive housing grants through the VA,
Mm-hmm.
which we do 2 or 3 of those projects a year. So we're dealing with severely disabled vets, amputees, MS, ALS. And then we recently did a addition and lower level project for a teenage girl that has spina bifida. So we're doing, I would say most of our work right now is actually not for the boomer. We're doing a lot of work for people that are having trouble that they're not necessarily aging. One of the things we're seeing, which is very disturbing, is ALS, people with Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, a lot of that's through the veterans. If you're a veteran of the service, you have a 50% chance higher of getting ALS than you do if you did not serve, which they don't know why that is. But so we're seeing a lot of that through our VA work, and that's very tough because you generally have 2 years to live once you're diagnosed with that, and we're doing projects, we're designing projects and building them so that they can be reversed once that person passes. So that's a whole nother level of design and work and working with people that really it's kind of taking on more and more, and we're getting more and more work of it, and it seems like maybe we're even going to be doing more of that as time goes on. So it might even be like a little micro niche in this.
Right. Well, and that's really the whole reason I wanted you to talk about it a little bit, is because with the skill set that you have for designing and building these solutions, there are multiple applications for that. When you have that insight that you can, in education and knowledge that you can bring to bear for solutions for someone who is older, you can very quickly be able to shift your focus a little bit and move into another niche. I mean, obviously it takes some education, I'm not trying to make light of that, but that you can further be specific with your services and develop another arm of the type of design and remodeling that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're problem solvers, right? That's what
exactly.
We do.
Exactly.
And that's what I enjoy doing. And the bigger the problem, or the bigger the problem to solve, the more you want to dig into it. And that's what I enjoy doing. So, and helping people with doing that even makes it better.
Right. So, is there anything else on the horizon for your company? More services or expanded services?
We're not expanding services. I'm hoping to push this year to raise the amount of projects we're doing for boomers and for people that are having trouble living in their home. And my goal would be that maybe that's all we do. I would have no problem with that. So, just to kind of a push in that direction is really what we're looking to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said earlier, it's the feeling, right? The people that get into this, and like you said, the fly-by-nights in the recession didn't make it, and there's a reason for that. And it's the caring piece, it's the customer experience piece, and you're definitely getting that right. So good for you. Well, you guys know that, here at BYBL, we really believe that part of a great business life is balance, not just with family, but also giving back and paying it forward. So, Jeff, how do you guys get involved in your, community as a mentor or a teacher or a philanthropist?
We work with a nonprofit called May We Help, and mainly they are a group of retired engineers that modify or make things for people that are disabled that you can't buy or they can't afford.
That's awesome.
It is a really, really neat thing. You go to their meetings and somebody will come in with a wheelchair and they're like, hey, I'm having this trouble. And you see 4 engineers run up there and they start actually talking about it right there at the meeting. It's kind of neat. They don't really do home modifications, but they had a couple that people reached out, and it was small, and they thought, who can we find? And they had a couple people there that knew us, and they reached out to us. So we've done some railing work. We put a ramp in. We had a woman that was stuck in her home for 9 months. She couldn't get out of her home. Literally did not leave her home for 9 months. We built a ramp and stood at the bottom of the ramp at the end of the day and watched her come down, and I thought she was going to stand up out of her wheelchair. She was because so things like that, giving back. That's what it's all about, and it seems like it's never a financial burden. You think, oh my gosh, how can I help? How can I take a day and do this, or how can I pay for this materials? You know what? It always seems to be there. You always get it back, and you just need, we're very blessed and to have what we have, and I really feel strongly we have to give back to community in that way.
Excellent. Very, very cool. So, okay, we're getting a little tight on time here, but I just wanted to hit one last question, and that is, what's one piece of advice that you would give, to someone who's wanting to start or grow a business right now that would include supporting the boomers or their families and caregivers.
Or folks with other abilities, yeah.
Or folks with other abilities.
I would say don't get into it just for the money. If you don't have a passion for this, don't do it. It's difficult. Sometimes you're dealing with 3 clients. You're dealing with the boomer or the disabled person. You're dealing with a daughter or son or family, or you're dealing with a trust. I mean, I've had times where I've had a geriatric care manager, I've had a trust officer, I've had a daughter, and I had the mother. So, I got 4 people to make happy to get paid. So, it's the logistics of working, in a person that's having trouble living in their home, and they may not be able to leave the home to use a facility somewhere else or climb the stairs. So there's a lot of logistics. And if you are not passionate about taking care of that person and helping them, then I wouldn't get into it, because it's a lot harder to do this kind of work than it is just to do general remodeling. You got to really want to do it.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, you'd be a great resource. Mark and I have had conversations. We've been asked. Some people feel like, CAPS is the only known baseline, but it's definitely the baseline. And there's so much more to learn. And, we've been asked, and we've been discussing kind of getting into that training side of things, of home assessment and just, soup to nuts. And we may call on you when that time comes if we go in that direction. But really good advice. Smart to admit that you won't make it just looking for paychecks in this niche, because it's way more involved. You're absolutely right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us and share for all the BYBL listeners out there across the United States. You got excellent insights, some beautiful advice for the small business owner, and clearly you're doing a great job of serving the boomers and folks with different abilities and making a difference in your community. So keep up the great work. We wish you a wonderful 2016. You have an awesome holiday, and thanks again.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, listen, Jeff, before we let you get out of here, just want to make sure we take the opportunity to give folks your contact information. How can they get a hold of you if they needed to?
If you want to give a call, the area code is 513-677-0196. Or email jdevol@DeVolDBR.com. I don't know if you have my name on here anywhere. They know how to spell it.
Oh, yeah. We'll have it on here when we post it. All right.
Through the website.
All right. Well, that wraps us up for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Owner's Chat and are leaving a little more inspired today. Thank you so much for listening, and please take a moment to share this episode on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Until next time, be well, be bold, and boom your bottom line.